Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you all to our Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority meeting with our Board of Commissioners. Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority Board of Commissioner meetings are held on the third Thursday of each month at 5 p.m. All meetings are conducted at PRHA's main office, 3116 South Street, Portsmouth, Virginia, 23707, unless otherwise noted. All members of the public are welcome to attend. We have our call to order. Madam Secretary.
All right. Commissioner Chapman.
Present.
Commissioner Cofield. Commissioner Harris. Commissioner Lalonde.
Here.
Commissioner Roberts. Vice Chair Washington.
Here.
And Chair Smith. We have a quorum.
Awesome. Commissioners, before you have our last meeting minutes, March 15th. Nope. March 15th meeting minutes, public hearing minutes. Is there any corrections?
I make a motion that we accept the March 15 Board of Commissioners meeting notes as submitted.
Thank you, Commissioner Lalonde. Chair's at the motion. Chair's need a second.
A second.
That's a second. Thank you, Commissioner Chapman. Madam Secretary.
All right. Commissioner Chapman.
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde.
Yes.
Vice Chair Washington.
Yes.
And Chair Smith.
Yes. The next order of business we have is finance.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just wanted to say that there wasn't too much of a significant change in the financial statements from last month, other than audit fees kind of hit. Just wanted to also say that we are having some positive changes in the finance department. We're moving to do some automation that will help, and then to also enhance the financial statements with balance sheets and reallocation. So we have great things happening.
Awesome. Commissioner Lalonde?
Yes, Commissioner Roberts and I met with Shannon and Executive Director Bland yesterday to do a little bit deeper dive, and if I could just take a couple minutes there to make sure that we're all educated where we're at on the allocation. Now that we've had a change and a fresh look in the front office and a fresh look at CFO level, we're going to be looking at the allocations that we do for expenses and how we divvy up the central office expenses. You know, those are those general expenses and the overhead. Before it was just a standard percentage, and now we're actually going to look at the actual work and how where it's being done to make sure it's properly allocated. So we not that we see a shift on the bottom line, we'll just see a shift on where the program, how it's allocated to the programs, so the programs are properly see the monies they make within Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority. The balance sheet, we talked about the balance sheet. Y'all are seeing the income statements every month, which is good. So we know by program, we know by the programs, we know by each one of the housing entities where we're making money or not. But I think it's important that we take a step back and we need to look at stuff like cash, accounts receivable, accounts payable, and the unrestricted general fund balance. And the only way you're going to see that is with the balance sheet. Now, that is not something that's regularly done every month. So I've asked Finance, I've asked Shannon and Mr. Bland to kind of, again, take a step back and see what is available for us. Maybe once a quarter, but something we really need to look at that balance sheet if we're accepting that fiduciary responsibility that we have. As far as the unrestricted fund balance, we did not have any expenditures out of the unrestricted fund balance, so that's good. I'd like to just bring up, as the Lincoln development, as we've talked about before, things that happen in the organization end up in accounting. And so you have to kind of go back and say, where is it going at? We do have some, from the finances, again, it's just the way we have to report it, but Lincoln is showing a loss, and we may show a deeper loss as we raise the housing over there. There was some discussion about we need to make sure on the HR side, on the employment side, that we're looking at the level of employment that we have there. And it'd be the same thing with Effingham, as we're selling Effingham, to make sure that we're looking at the payroll as it matches to what the revenue, and obviously there'll be no revenue. Right? So I'm just asking that if HR, when you get a chance, as y'all meet, just kind of ask those questions of those programs that we have that we're making changes in. What are we doing about the payroll shifts? What are we doing about the people that work for us? What are we going to do with them?
And human resources?
I'm asking the human resources take a look at it.
We will.
All right. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lottie. Commissions, any other commissions? And then procurement, no business. Housing, no business. On to development, Brian.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We have some positive news for you today. If you recall, back towards year end, the Housing Authority submitted to HUD a portfolio application for the majority of the remainder of our traditional public housing communities that are receiving public housing subsidy currently. Those communities included the Westbury Pine Street community, Holly Square, Seaboard Square phases 1 and 2, and then the Westbury Cottages community. So five of our projects were submitted to HUD in December. We received notice on April 5th that all 5 have received awards of RAD, conditional housing assistance payment contracts. So they will be making the RAD conversion similar to what we're doing at Dale Homes. However, in this case, there is one difference. We will not be looking at a comprehensive rehabilitation. These are more or less a non-financial transaction as we're proposing it now. So they'll be really just basically switching the form of subsidy that the community receives, and it will be an increase and a standardized subsidy that doesn't fluctuate year to year. So it's effectively a project-based HAP contract for the community, so project-based vouchers from HUD. So it's a pretty positive change. And I think as Mr. Bland will tell you, we're looking at some increases in the rents out there, and I say the rent subsidy coming to the project, not from the tenant. A very positive development. Are there any questions?
Yes, sir. Right off the bat, no. Commissioners, any questions? There being none, thank you, sir. Thank you. Right. Next item on the agenda, human resources. Adopting the ethics policy, resolution 2018-23. Mr. Lyon?
Okay.
Vice Chair?
I'll speak to that. First of all, we'd like to thank the board, the team, for trusting us to get the work done, and thank the committee, Commissioner Chapman, Dean Thompson, Mr. Bland, and myself, and you have been presented with our completed work. What we did, we wordsmithed maybe about 15 or 20% in the wording, bringing it up to current standards. The only significant change, I would call it a significant change, is in terms of receiving contributions. We went from $25 for commissioners to $0. Also we said that we can have anyone insisting on giving a commissioner a donation that they send it to a community organization, such as any 501c3, to a local church, the YMCA, the YWCA, or any organization in the community. But that's pretty much what we did, and we hope you're satisfied with our work. That's my conclusion.
Any other commissioners, any comments?
Yeah. Also, what we will do, we will post our ethics policy on our website so that not only you as commissioners will be able to review it, but the public as a whole will be able to look at the ethics policy. We will go ahead and post it on our website, because this is the first time we have one for the authority.
Good stuff. All right, any more comments or questions on this item? There being none, chairs need a motion to approve Looking at resolution 2018-23 adopting an ethics policy.
I make a motion that we approve and adopt the ethics policy, resolution 28-23.
Thank you, Commissioner Chapman. Chair's in need of a second.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Londy. Madam Secretary?
All right. Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde?
Yes.
Vice Chair Washington?
Yes.
And Chair Smith?
Yes. Next item we have on our agenda is reports. Significant activity report, Mr. Brown.
Commissioners, in your package is the significant activity report. Any questions regarding that written report?
Just like to make a couple comments. First of all, again, very impressed with what the staff does, and the detail that you provide to us is absolutely fantastic. I like being able to go to one place and see all the activity that the staff is doing. But two things to highlight. We got the scholarship applications were just submitted. I guess we're finalizing the scholarship application. For those commissioners that are here, our chairman did a great job as guest speaker last year at that scholarship luncheon. I would encourage all to attend. If you want to see some energetic young people that live in housing who are very appreciative of the scholarship monies that we provide them, this is a place to be. I think that's great. The other one was the Housing Choice Voucher Program. You get a chance, the number of inspections that we're doing. I mean, while we think that we're a public housing entity, we also are responsible for inspecting those houses that our Housing Choice Voucher people are in. So if you notice, they did a couple hundred inspections last month. So I think that's fantastic that we're keeping our finger on the pulse to make sure those folks who are in, that we're providing financial support or looking for us to help them, that we in fact do it. So thank you for the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Londy. Any other commissioners' comments? No one? All righty. Remarks? Blaine?
Commissioner, we have a guest speaker today, Dr. James Warner. She reached out to me and she's gonna talk about the program that we're gonna provide at one of our sites, which is Swanson Homes. So I'm gonna turn it over to you if you wanna step to the podium.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And Dr. James, she's the health director, and her office is located at 1701 High Street.
Of course.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. James. With the Portsmouth Health Department. A little bit about me. I was born in Chicago, raised in Hampton Roads, specifically Chesapeake and Portsmouth. I went to college at Spelman and then medical school at Morehouse School of Medicine. Came back for a residency at Eastern Virginia Medical School. I'm trained family medicine physician. Worked with Bon Secours also in Portsmouth for a few years. And now I'm happily with the health department here in Portsmouth. And this presentation is going to be just a little refresher on what the health department does in Portsmouth, and then it's going to go into how we like to collaborate with PRHA, thanks to Mr. Bland and the committee. Thank you. All right. So the Portsmouth Health Department is committed to promotion, protection, and preservation of a healthy and environmentally safe community. Our vision is to be recognized by the public as a leader and advocate in safeguarding public health and the environment. So what we do, this is a very busy slide, so I'm just going to go with the general theme. So we do communicable disease prevention and control, environmental health hazard protection, emergency preparedness and response, and then we do health assessment, promotion, education. We have a diabetes coalition team, tobacco prevention. We do nutrition services like WIC and breastfeeding education, and then we do medical and immunization services. So BDH, which is like the parent of all the health departments in Virginia, this is our goal. You see Virginia on top. We want Virginia to be as healthy as possible. We want to be the healthiest state. And how do we do that? Through healthy, connected communities. And that goes back to us having a good relationship with organizations such as PRHA. So I'm going to take you through a few slides on the statistics of health in Portsmouth. I promise I'm not going to get too deep into it. But the first bar graph show the average hospitalizations for arthritis, diabetes, and and asthma across Virginia. And then these are the specific numbers for Portsmouth. And it's just to look at the trend and see that we're higher in every category. In diabetes, we've almost doubled the average across the state. So this is very concerning. And then just because opioid epidemic is always in the news, we're mostly looking at the trend and that once again, Portsmouth, the numbers are increased, although not horrible, but they are above what the state average is, once again. And then next with the heroin overdose mortality. Once again, the trend is upward above the state average, but we do have resources in place through the health department in collaboration with behavioral health. So STD rates, the straight line indicates HIV in the blue, syphilis in the yellow, chlamydia in the gray, and then in the red, gonorrhea is the state average. And then once again, Portsmouth is above the average in all of those categories. So why? Why does Portsmouth have these poor outcomes? This brings me to the topic of population health. The health outcomes of a group of individuals, including the distribution of such outcomes within the group. Social determinants of health. What in Portsmouth causes these health inequities? This is an inequality of health, and this gives us room for opportunity. How can we change these numbers? How can we be the difference? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the social determinants in Portsmouth that lead to us having these disparities and poor outcomes. So in Virginia, our ranking in Portsmouth, we're like in the bottom quartile. So we got a lot of room to go up. And this is a graphic that BDH uses, and it's called the Health Opportunity Index. And these are social determinants, and this shows us why we are, where we are with our health. So some things that determine our health are our air quality, population density, the walkability, the affordability, our education, food access. For example, lots of areas in Portsmouth are what's known as a food desert. They don't have a grocery store within a mile away. And we also in Portsmouth have a lot of convenience stores that sell food. And you have to think, is a convenience store selling the type of food that a sit-down restaurant would sell? Probably not the healthiest health content. So all of these things affect our health opportunity index. And then if you look at Portsmouth, even though we're small on the map, it still varies. You almost have to break it down to a neighborhood level because there are 2, 3, 4, 5 different parts of Portsmouth and how healthy they are based on the social determinants of health. So health matters and place matters. I'm not going to get too deep into this slide, but just to give you a general picture, 45% of the citizens in Portsmouth have a very low health opportunity. And this is based on access to care, education, income, whether or not they're insured. And then 22% of the residents have a low opportunity of wellness disparity. And this is based on walkability of their community, things like that. 16% have a low opportunity for economic opportunities. And that's based on their education, income, the business in the area. So the average across Virginia of poverty population is 11%, and then it's 12% for uninsured. Once again, Portsmouth has higher rates in both. We have about 18% in poverty and 14% uninsured. So that just reflects to why we do have these poor outcomes. So all the data, all the statistics show us that we've been putting all of our bang and buck into counseling, education, and clinical interventions where the biggest impact is socioeconomic factors, poverty, education, housing, and inequality. And PRHA is already doing their part with providing affordable housing. So now it's what can the health department do? How can we meet the people where they are to make a change in those things that we see have the largest impact? So PRHA has already done some wonderful things. They were the first campus in the region to have a smoke-free policy, and that is a big deal. So Dr. Lane and I met and we discussed a couple of possible sites for what we call resource centers. In Richmond, they already do something similar. And what we would do is we would come on site and use a couple of rooms, and we would provide our nursing staff, and it would be convenient and accessible to the residents, or honestly anyone who would want to utilize those resources. It will be of no charge, a sliding scale based on their income or insurance level. And so these were the possible sites we talked about. Lincoln or either Swanson within the community center. And what will we offer? So potential resources that we offer, we will probably start out with STI screening and treatment and family planning. As we can see, there is a need based on our levels. And then we could eventually expand to chronic disease screenings, sports physicals, giving immunizations, breast cancer screenings, cervical cancer screenings. I don't know if you all know, but Portsmouth was top among the nation in breast cancer mortality. Community events, connections to health, socioeconomic, educational resources, educational workshops, and support groups. And this comes into having the biggest impact that we can. So how are we going to do this? Portsmouth is very happy and proud. We have what's called our Community Health Worker Network. And what is this? This is a group of trusted, knowledgeable frontline personnel who come from the communities they have served. CHW's bridge cultural and linguistic barriers to improve health outcomes and move the needle forward in the challenged areas of access and social support. So along with our clinical staff, we would like to have our community health workers present in these community centers. In Richmond and even locally in Newport News and Hampton, there have been a lot of success stories because these are people who come from the community, and some of them have actually gone on to be health department employees, work in the social work field. So it really starts off as a volunteer program, but when people really get interested, they can take it to the next level. And then this is someone in the community who can relate. Richmond had a real success story. They had a community health worker volunteer that actually was a resident of the community. She eventually became an employee and now runs a community health worker in the neighborhood she used to live in. So to me, that's a success story. So the key purpose, once again, of these health workers is to expand the medical model, team-based care. But they can also do other things like helping connect people with resources, programs we have at the health department, social services, things like that. So what are some of the barriers that they're able to reduce? They're able to do bi-directional referrals, health screening, resource sharing, connecting, and connect to social services. And this is some information about volunteering for that program. So I'm just going to finish off with a little recap of what we do offer. We offer family planning, nutritional support through the WIC program, immunizations. The Ron White grant offers HIV treatment to anyone with HIV for free. Tuberculosis treatment, also of no charge. Maternal child health and baby care program supports women who qualify to get free car seats and pack and plays. We have our diabetes prevention program and our Virginia Fatherhood Initiative program, which offers wraparound services to young men 16 to 24 who are parents. And what else? We have preparedness, emergency planning, tobacco control, and PrEP HIV, which offers preventative HIV treatment to the high-risk population. So some things that we did last year are Pop-Up Veggie Marts, community health workers. We had our Portsmouth Play Day. We have the Teen Summer Camp, food handlers class, community health fairs, community gardens and initiatives. And these are all things that we would like to bring into those community centers to see if that's something that the community would feel would like to be a part of and participate in. And this was most recently in April. We had a community fun day. I feel it was a success. We had over 100 residents come. It only exhibited all the programming that we have at the health department to allow the community to see what we do for them and all that we have to offer them. So with that said, thank you all for your attention. Any
questions or comments from Commissioner?
Let me just say,
Yes, sir.
Dr. James, I met me, and we went out to Swanson. We got the community space there, so we're gonna provide space so that so that she can bring those services directly to our residents that live in Swanson, and hopefully, maybe somewhere in the future, we can try to do other sites that we have. But we're gonna start with the Swanson site first. Yeah.
Where,
Really appreciate
that was
it.
on Elm Avenue. What neighborhood was that?
Oh, this was at the neighborhood rec center. They're doing a lot of work on that street.
Right here, I'm having right there. What's
Okay,
Splash
okay.
Park.
Okay,
Yeah.
great,
And they
great.
have an after-school program there too, I think. It was a nice
Fantastic.
facility. All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all so much.
Thank you.
I know I sent you out several correspondence over the month, so because I try to keep you as up to date and informed what's going on at the housing authority. Unless you have some questions about something I sent you, I have nothing else. And I will continue to send you a lot of correspondence.
Thank you for keeping us informed.
Before I make a comment, commissioners, you have any comments?
Yes, sir, just a couple. I appreciated Brian's comment about the RAD project that we got. That's fantastic. And we've talked several times before about educating the community about the goodness that Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority does. And I think that's one of those things that we need to communicate with, because in the last month, I've been barraged with a HUD grant that Newport News got in the paper, the joint VA effort in Hampton Roads for veterans, the veterans facility or homeless facilities that they're building in Virginia Beach, and we've had some great stories. And I don't, hopefully being televised now will help us get those words out. But if there's any way we can access, the marketing folks over at the city, it'd be great that we could start putting this stuff that we've done well. And again, that's if we just focus on that one, let's see what we can do to get the goodness out that what we're bringing to the city.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Awesome. Commissioners, any other commissioners?
We are partnering, if I'm using the right word, with another organization, the Youth and Family Foundation, and we've done a couple of projects already.
I can let Dolores talk a little bit.
We have recently signed a memorandum of understanding with an organization that runs a program called National Call Dad. And the basis of their program is to link fathers that are not in the home with their children. Their purpose is not necessarily to navigate through the relationships between the parents, but it's to get a father involved in their child's life through calls or setting up meetings, come visiting. They're trying to work as a mediator of sorts to link the so that the parents will focus in on the needs of the child, because statistically it's been proven that a child that has both parents involved in their life do much better. Mm-hmm. And so they work with both parents to try to get them to set aside their own personal issues and focus in on the child. In addition to that, they have a relationship with various merchants and retailers that provide clothing and I guess in some cases shoes.
Yes.
We had an event that our Family Self-Sufficiency Department put on called Makeover Madness. This is an event, I think this is the third year that we've held it. And the idea is to try to teach our residents about self-care and health and wellness type activities. We usually have someone come over and discuss with them about how to, with makeup, they get makeovers, we have all types of wigs, and we may have a Mary Kay consultant there. This year, they have a little luncheon to sit there, and this has been it's one of the most successful events we have throughout the year, because most of our residents, we got a great thank you for one of the residents, because a lot of times as parents, and most of our participants are females, you care for everyone but yourself. Mm-hmm. So taking a few moments to actually care for themselves. One of the residents was so grateful. She wrote us a thank you note. But this organization donated some clothing, brand new clothing that was donated from one of their sources, so that the women were actually able to go shopping with no money, just free clothing that they could pick up while they were there that day. So it was a wonderful event. We hope this will be a good partnership for us, because we know it's definitely needed.
We thank you We will, this is a high priority for the organization to continue to do this work with the PRHA organization. And they do provide quality, name brand clothing, London Fall, high quality shoes, new, and I'm working with them. And we found out that Bruce Solani has done some things with them too. We didn't know that in the process, but we will continue to push this and make it happen for our residents. So thank you.
That's all I have, unless you have some questions for me in reference to anything we have sent out to you. Any other questions?
Okay. The second year on dealing with HUD and all the great stuff we're doing here at the Housing Authority, Commissioner Londe, I'll have a chance this weekend to go to the Narrow Legislative Conference, where I plan to meet with our legislators, you know, let them know the things we're doing and what we do need. And, you know, just speaking on her behalf, point blank, we need the money, we need the help. We need all the help we can get, you know. So I'm pretty sure that'll be interesting as well. And keep up the great work, y'all. Make us look good. Really good. And with that being said, now to the part where we have a public speakers. We'll allow the 5-minute speech. Do we have any speakers? None? Okay. All right. Next item we have is the resolution of intent to meet in closed session. And you need to go ahead and read that. What I do? Resolution 2018-24, resolution of intent to meet in closed meeting. Whereas the Virginia Freedom of Information Act provides that the Board of Commissioners can meet in a closed meeting for the discussion or consideration of acquisition of real property for public purpose or of the disposition of publicly held real property, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body as set forth in section 2.2-3711A3 of the Code of Virginia as amended. The matters for consideration are of the disposition of real properties located at Seaboard Commons in Washington Park, and the acquisition of real properties located at Pine Street in Westbury 3A. Now therefore, be it resolved that in compliance with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and the above referenced section of the Virginia Code, the Board of Commissioners shall reconvene in a closed meeting on April 19th, 2018 to discuss or consider the acquisition and disposition of publicly held real property A3.
Make a motion that we move to closed meeting for the discussion of resolution of intent, resolution 2018-24.
Chairs the meeting second.
Second.
Madam Secretary?
All right. Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde?
Yes.
Vice Chair Washington?
Yes.
And Chair Smith?
Yes. Should we go into a short recess?
Right.
Real quick. You ready? Resolution 2018-25. Resolution of certification of the closed meeting of April 19th, 2018, pursuant to the section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority has reconvened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to affirmative recorded votes in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the opening meeting requirements of the Virginia law, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion reconvening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Board of Commissioners in this closed meeting. Yes, chairs in need of a motion.
Resolution 2018-25. Make motion to reconvene into our open meeting.
Second.
Chair sees the motion. Second, Madam Secretary.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde?
Yes.
Vice Chair Washington?
Yes.
And Chair Smith?
Yes. Correspondence, Mr. Green. You have any correspondence, sir?
None.
Commissioners, any other things?
If I could, just half a dozen more things here. Again, remain disappointed that Economic Development Authority can't seem to have a representative here at our meetings. We've worked aggressively to go with them. There seems to be a lot of conversation, and I'm sure we'll have it at our joint retreat about collaboration with EDA. And it's hard to collaborate when they're not at the table. Right? Our meetings are totally open, and we absolutely need their cooperation. We do have a joint council meeting coming up in next month, and I just plead that we're well informed, that we as commissioners are well informed of what we're going to bring up to that meeting before we go to that meeting. All right. I mean, obviously there's some things that we would like. I know the council is probably going to ask us to do. Well, I'm sure. I hope that we put our heads together and ask for those things that we would like from the council. I mean, maybe being facetious about the property there at S.H. Clark, and maybe facetious about asking for the property of the Pines. All right, but we're in the housing business, and obviously we're bringing deals to the table.
Yes.
All right, we can do it. We can do it.
Redevelopment.
Redevelopment, yes, we can do it, but it seems from a housing standpoint, we talked about last meeting that, we have 7,000 people on the housing list, all right, and we're not, the city is growing, the population is growing, yet our bank of inventory that we have for housing is not growing, and we need to have the city's strategic vision on where we are going with housing and what our responsibilities are as far as that way, but I am asking that before we go into that joint council session, that we're all, as commissioners, that we're leading the discussion. All right. We have some very aggressive committees that we do some robust committee reports, so the council does see that we have our finger on the pulse of what we're doing.
Thank you, Commissioner Lalonde. Any other commissioner?
I also wanted to reiterate in regards to the ethics policy that all the commissioners make sure that they review the annual confidentiality agreement that's on the last page of that ethics policy. I don't know if anybody has had a chance to review it, because I think we're all supposed to be signing it as well. So just to remind everybody to please review that, and to be sure that we to sign that agreement.
Yeah. And we'd like to have that back from you at least by the next board meeting, the signed copy.
And we need to sign, read the resolution authorizing the
22.
properties, yes,
Gotcha.
Cell tower lease agreement.
Great. All right, we double back.
Under your development tab. 6, 7.
There we go. 6.
Yep.
All righty.
Thank you, Council.
Good catch. Resolution 2018-22, resolution authorizing the execution of a lease agreement with Design Craft LLC and/or Universal Wireless LLC and/or its assigns for the development of certain property identified as approximately 0.28 acres, portion of a certain land located at 3910 Victory Boulevard, Portsmouth, Virginia, tax parcel 052-60029. Chair, does it need a motion to approve this resolution?
Make motion that we approve 2018 Resolution 22, authorizing the execution of a lease agreement with Design Craft LLC and/or Universal Wireless LLC and/or its assigned for the development of certain properties identified as approximately 0.2 acres, portions of certain land located at 3910, I think I said 0.2 acres, portion of a certain land located at 3910 Victory Boulevard, Portsmouth, Virginia, tax parcel 052-60029.
I second it.
Chair to see motion second. Madam Secretary?
All right. Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde?
Yes.
Vice Chair Washington?
Yes.
And Chair Smith?
Yes. be our last order of business.
Yes, it is.
Is there anything else? Commissioners? Thank you all for your time and your service, and staff for what you do as well. And also, you have anything, Councilwoman, before we?
I'm good.
Okay,
Yes. Look forward to seeing you all on the joint meeting.
awesome. Meeting's now adjourned.